Rios, according to his agent, Sean Stellato. He was cut last year as a rookie by the Arizona Cardinals. Rios states that, "I know people perceive this as being an uphill battle." He said, "I like my chances." Rios, a 6'2" wide receiver, is Marist's all-time career leader in touchdown receptions with 17. In 2012, Rios set the program record in single-game receiving yards of 205 and single-season records with 1,173. He's run the 40-yard dash in 4.47 seconds with a 33-inch vertical leap at 10'6" broad jump. He was the first player in the history of the program to sign a contract with an NFL team.
The Marist softball team swept the MAC rival Manhattan in their home opener. The Red Foxes claimed the first game 6-3 before winning the second game 5-1. The softball team announced changes to its upcoming schedule on Tuesday. The team will no longer be playing its doubleheader on April 15th at Sacred Heart. Also, instead of hosting St. Bonaventure on April 16th, the team will be making up its postponed doubleheader against MAC opponent Monmouth in West Long Branch, New Jersey. The two-game matchup will kick off at 2:30 p.m.
Marist women's lacrosse made some history on Wednesday, setting a new program record with their sixth consecutive win. A 19-7 triumph over MAC rival Niagara. Junior Kristen Viscount tallied 5 goals as the Fox pulled away from the Purple Eagles with a 14-3 halftime lead. The Foxes, whose previous longest win streak was a 5-game streak in 2009, set the first place in the MAC with a perfect 3-0 record. The team will return to action this Sunday at Quinnipiac. Scheduled for noon face-off on the men's side, they fell to the 3-8 overall on the season in a 15-10 defeat to the Hofstra Pride of the CAA. Junior Drew Nesmith tallied a career-high 6 goals in the losing effort. Men's lacrosse returns to action against MAC foe Monmouth on April 19th in Long Branch.
We'll be back in just 2 minutes with Christian Clark and Ryan Calvi's breakdown of the NHL playoff picture. Welcome back. Let's go over to Christian Clark at the screen for the NHL's top teams.
Thanks, Dan. So with the NHL regular season come to a close on Sunday, some of the top teams in the league have already clinched playoff spots. The St. Louis Blues and the Anaheim Ducks right here are in a tight race for the first seed in the West. St. Louis currently sits in first place with 111 points, while the Ducks sit right behind them with 110. St. Louis, as we all know, made the splash of the season at the trade deadline when they sent goaltender Yaroslav Halak and forward Chris Stewart to Buffalo in exchange for Steve Ott and elite goaltender Ryan Miller. The Blues have great depth at offense with David Backes, TJ Oshie, Alexander Steen, and Vladimir Tarasenko. Watch out for these guys in the playoffs. In the East now, Boston has already clinched the the first place in the East with 114 points. After losing to Chicago last year in the Stanley Cup Finals, we can tell that the Bruins are eager to make a return to the finals. Looking for a different outcome, Tuukka Rask has emerged as the Vezina favorite this season, and with Bruins captain Zdeno Chara leading them, I'd say that Boston boasts the best offensive core in the league, and they will be playing with the typical take-no-prisoners mentality that we've seen from Boston in recent years. For Stanley Cup Finals, I'm predicting Boston versus St. Louis, two of the top teams in each conference. While it's uncertain who will raise Lord Stanley's Cup, we sure know that this year's finals will be interesting if it is as mentioned above. Now, let's throw it over to the other side, Ryan Calvi, for teams whose ticket hasn't been punched yet for the playoffs.
Thanks a lot, Christian. As the NHL season is coming to a close this week, there are still some teams who are seeking to earn the final wild card spots and make the playoffs. The Eastern Conference is pretty solidified as the Detroit Red Wings and Columbus Blue Jackets currently sit 7th and 8th in the standings with 90 and 89 points respectively. With only 3 games remaining on the schedule, it will be very tough for each of these teams to miss the playoffs, as the New Jersey Devils and Washington Capitals are 6 and 5 points behind respectively. However, the race in the Western Conference is a lot more exciting, as 2 teams are fighting for the final spot to make the playoffs. Currently, the Dallas Stars and Phoenix Coyotes are separated by just 2 points in the standings, with each having 3 games remaining on the schedule. However, both teams are set to play each other in the final regular season game on Sunday, so that could make for a win-and-in type of game.
Thank you, Ryan. Basketball wrapped up earlier this week, but that's not the only Final Four left. The Frozen Four starts tonight at 5 p.m. as Union will take on Boston College. Then, at 8:30, Minnesota will face off against North Dakota. The championship game is set for Saturday at 7:30. Good luck, gentlemen. Stay with us through the break, as when we come back, we'll bring in our baseball insiders to discuss the Yankees and the Mets.
Okay. In 2013, the New York.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Rick, are you mic'd?
Yeah, I'm mic'd.
Hop up.
Okay. All right.
All right, let's do it.
Is he like hosting this, or is it?
So should I go first for the questions?
I will tell you when you're going. Do not worry.
We're back in 30. How does Frankie sound? 20 seconds. Matt, can you speak real quick?
Speak.
Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to LTCC Sports. I'm Matt Kelly.
10, 9, 8.
Welcome back. I am joined by Matt Kelly and Frank Gannon. Well, gentlemen, let's jump right in with the MLB. Let's start with the Yankees. Last season, the Yankees finished with 85 wins. With all the major offseason additions, do you expect that win total will go up, Frank?
I honestly believe the Yankees are going to have a bounce back here. I predict them winning about 94 games this season and finishing top of the ranks.
Sure, and what about you? Do you think that they can make the playoffs this year? Is that going to be a change in style?
I think they're going to be at 92 wins and win the AL East. I think Tanaka's going to be a 15-game winner for them. CC should be back to being effective. I feel like the offense will be much better with Ellsbury hitting and stealing bases and McCann and Beltran providing the power.
Sure. And well, there's only one guy that leads that team out of the dugout, and that will be their captain. And he's back for the 20th season and his final one. Matt, after missing last year, what do you think what kind of expectations do you have out of Derek Jeter for this season?
Well, I think Derek Jeter's still going to be a productive player, just not that over 300 type player usually. I think he'll around 270, 280 with like 4 or 5 home runs and drive in 60, 70 RBIs.
And Frank, what kind of expectation do you have for the amount of games he's going to play this year after missing so many last year?
If he can stay healthy, I can see him being, playing 5 games a week. I think that they're going to have him switch out. It's his last year, but I see him, if he's healthy, he's going to be playing.
Is that going to be 5 games at shortstop, or maybe that'd be 5 at shortstop, 2 at DH?
I think that they will have him DH more often this season, but as well as shortstop as well. I think he can finish off strong for him.
Sure. And so let's switch over to the pitching a little bit. In the past few years, CC Sabathia's velocity has dropped gradually, and this year it seems to be in the high 80s. Is this a concern of yours?
Personally, I think it is a little bit, but I still think that CC has his stuff. He can still put him away. He's still got a good slider. His curveball is still a good. So even though his velocities drop, I still think he's got his stuff.
And Matt, do you expect that velocity will pick up above 90 miles an hour come summertime?
I don't expect it to, but I still think he can be an effective pitcher. He just has to learn how to command his pitches. Look at his former teammate, Andy Pettit. He dominated for years just throwing 88 miles an hour, which is what his velocity is at now.
And just one word, is he still the ace of the staff, Frank?
Still the ace of the staff.
Thank you.
For sure.
So going to the end of their bullpen, Dave Robertson was placed on disabled list earlier this week. Is there a front runner to step into his closer role?
I think it's Sean Kelly right now.
I'd also have to agree with that. Sean Kelly's been strong. I think he can take over the role.
And now if Sean Kelly comes out and he performs at a high level, is that role going back to Dave Robertson when he comes off the DL, or do you think that he could hold on to the role for the rest of the year?
I personally think it's Robertson's job.
I agree with that as well. I believe that Robertson can come in back and make a strong appearance.
All right, he's definitely got a lot of talent, and we're going to see what he can do. I mean, filling in from Aaron Rivera is never an easy feat. So let's take a look at the New York Mets, the other great New York team.
Sure.
There have been rumblings about predicting that the Mets could win 90 wins. That's a lot of wins for them. Is this a real possibility, Frank?
Unfortunately, I don't think it's a possibility. Mets fans can think what they want, but unfortunately, I don't think the Mets can get it done with 90 wins this year. I think their closer, Jose Valverde, his velocity's been down. I'm not sure if he can, how effective he's going to be this season as their closer, but we'll see.
What kind of prediction do you have for their win total, Matt?
I have them at about 75 wins. Their starting pitching is a little bit shaky after 4 or 5 spots. Ken Wheeler be that effective pitcher for them. Their bullpen is a little shaky with Valverde there, and Farnsworth has had control issues as well as Valverde.
Sure, it doesn't seem like they have a lot of stable parts. It seems like they have a lot of question marks that have come through.
Definitely.
It could be a lot of wins, and if it doesn't, it could not. So Ike Davis came through with a clutch last Saturday with a pinch hit, walk-off grand slam. Is this the beginning of a great year for him, or is this just a moment in what could be a very long season, Matt?
I think it's just a moment in a very long season. I just don't see him getting the at-bats. They love Lucas Duda at first base. I just don't see Davis getting enough plate appearances to be that productive player.
Understandable. And do you feel the same way over there?
Yeah, I feel like he's not getting enough at bats. If they give him more at bats, I feel like he had the potential to be an impact player.
And so looking at their staff, because we already talked about how it's a little bit shaky at the back end, Matt Harvey's out for the year with Tommy John surgery. Can their new phenom, Zach Wheeler, step in and be the ace of that staff?
I don't think he can this year. I think he still has to mature a little bit, learn how to control his pitches. I think the ace for them is going to be Bartolo Colon, who they gave $10 million a year for. And he does have ace-type stuff, but he has great movement and control, which makes him a very effective pitcher for them.
So, Frank, the Mets also are having closure issues with Bobby Parnell out for the year. Can Jose Valverde get the job done?
I'm not sure if he can get the job done, fill in for him. His velocity's down, like I said. I think they could possibly move him to a setup guy and have Vic Black, their young talent. I feel like he's got a little bit of control issues in spring training, but I feel like he could eventually step up for them and become their closer this season.
So this past season, Major League Baseball extended instant replay to get the call right. Tigers pitcher Armando Galarraga was robbed of his perfect game last year when Jim Joyce made that what could be decided as an awful call at first base. Is baseball better with expanded replay, even though it's removing the human element of the umpires, Matt?
I believe it is because they're getting the calls right, and it's still not taking the human element away. They are making their calls first. It's just when they mess up, they're going to get the call right and help teams win games and protect history like Galarraga has perfect game.
Sure, and Frank, is there an issue with the length that these instant replays are taking? I mean, there's been argument that it's not quick enough and the game's already slow enough already. Is it slowing it down too much, or will that speed up with a little bit of practice over time?
I believe that, honestly, the instant replay is just a bad part of the game. I think that baseball is long enough as it is, and with this instant replay, I think it's just going to add too much time to the game. Baseball's a game of inches, and I feel like the umpire should give him his call. They don't need to go back to TV for that.
And Matt, do you ever expect them to expand it farther to really remove the human element and include pitches and strikes and balls?
I don't think they'll ever do that because it's just too hard to call what ball to strike is. Every umpire has a variable strike zone, so it'd be hard to set limitations to what a ball and a strike would be considered.
Sure. I mean, there is that computer-generated software that allows these umpires after the game to understand what kind of percentage of calls they got right, but I don't know if that's a great move for baseball. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. So we're talking about the NBA and the NFL draft when we're coming back.
This?
Yeah, that's
No, that's behind me.
I'm Sam Lucides. Two? Lucides.
I know it is.
Welcome back. I am joined by Sam Lucides, and we're going to talk about the NBA. Let's jump right in, Sam. Going with our local team, the New York Knicks are 2 games out of 8th place, but they have just 4 games left. Do you think that the Knicks can close the gap and overcome the Atlanta Hawks for the last playoff spot?
I don't think so, Dan. I think the Eastern Conference is set with the Atlanta Hawks in 8th place. The Knicks had their chance, but they lost to the Washington Wizards and the Miami Heat, 2 playoff teams who are big-time contenders, and that just shows that the Knicks aren't ready.
It's very true, and you know what? It may not be their year this year. So it seems that regardless if the Knicks make the playoffs, that Mike Woodson's going to be out. Do you think this is true? And if so, do you have any idea who could replace him?
To be honest, I don't know if it's true as of yet, but if they were to pick a new coach, I really think Jeff Van Gundy would be the guy. He's proven in New York he can handle the pressure. There's been rumors about John Calipari talking with the Knicks, but he has not proven. Going back to Jeff Van Gundy, he's the last coach to take the Knicks to the finals, and that's a big deal in New York. It's been a while since New York fans have been excited about the Knicks.
Do we know what kind of coach Phil Jackson's looking for, or is it up in the air right now?
I think it's really up in the air. I mean, I bet he would like to have one of his triangle offensive coaches, maybe from LA, where he could kind of control and kind of head coach as well as be the manager. But as of right now, it's still up in the air.
So this season's not over for all New York teams. The Brooklyn Nets have beat the Miami Heat 4 times this year. Is this a big deal or not?
That's a very big deal, Dan. For a while, it looked like the Brooklyn Nets were the Celtics, playing in green, but they were really playing in black with Garnett and Pierce. It just looked like that rivalry was restored. I think it's very big. Taking them into the playoffs, they've been getting momentum, and they'll keep running with it.
And so that's a team full of veterans. You got Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, as you mentioned already, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. Are they a real playoff contender?
I really do. I think they are. They've proven this late. They've beat Miami 4 times, who are supposed to be the top team, And they can battle King James and Dwayne Wade every time they play, and I think they can meet them maybe later in the finals and make a run for it.
Sure. And so going to the top of the playoffs, the Indiana Pacers have completely imploded, having lost 7 of the last 10 games. Is there something that we can point to that caused this problem?
As I look at the Indiana Pacers and they're just falling off, I really think it was the trade for Evan Turner and losing Danny Granger. Danny Granger was their all-star from the start before the Pacers were even a contender. And now with Evan Turner in the lineup, he looks like he's almost taken most of the shots. And I think that's kind of thrown off the Pacers because at one time they were a very passing team. They looked out for each other, and now it looks like they're getting kind of selfish. Last night, the Pacers sat all 5 of their starters.
It's a little unexpected, and Danny Granger could have been a serious glue guy. Well, let's go ahead and continue with the East. Do you expect them to figure it out by the time the playoffs begin, or will they have an early upset?
I don't think they'll have an early upset if the Atlanta Hawks make it. I think they can get over the Atlanta Hawks, even though they lost to them about a week ago. That being said, I think if they were to meet the Bulls or the Brooklyn Nets in the finals, the semifinals, I think they could have a tough time with both teams.
Sure. So let's jump across to the Western Conference a little bit. Looking at the more dominant side of this, the Memphis Grizzlies have beat the Heat last night to come within 1 game of the last playoff spot. Can they make a push and force either Dallas or Phoenix out of the playoffs?
As for Dallas, I think they're going to be a playoff contender. Memphis and the Suns, it will be a good match to see. They play later in the season, and we'll see who can take that last spot.
Well, thank you, Sam. Let's throw it over to Pat Furno, and he's going to break down our NFL running backs for the draft.
How's it going, folks? This year in the NFL draft, we have the top 3 running backs that I have for this class are Trey Mason, Corey Hyde, and Andre Williams. Let's start with Trey Williams out of Auburn. The 5'9", 207-pound back possesses a high-cut frame and a powerful lower body. He's a decisive one-cut runner that doesn't waste time dancing behind the line. The way this kid plays reminds me of Ray Rice. However, like Rice, Mason is shorter than ideal, but is a one-speed runner that doesn't have the second-level breakaway speed that you need to play in the NFL. Next, we have the Buckeye Carlos Hyde. At 6 feet, 230 pounds, Hyde can certainly be described as a power back. This kid is a great north-south runner and loves to lower his shoulder pads and power through tackles. He has an excellent ability to absorb tackles while he continues to pump his legs. Conditioning seems to be the problem for this young man, and at times during games throughout the season looked very fatigued. Also, another issue, ground and pound football could be outdated in today's NFL spread-out game. Finally, we have Andre Williams out of Boston College. At 5'11", 227 pounds, Williams is a thickly built back who shows tremendous balance to pick up yards after contact. He shows good quickness to work in between the tackles to gain extra yards. Next week, we'll be covering the top wide receivers for this year's class.
Thank you. So, Tuesday night, the University of Connecticut completed the clean sweep of college basketball. The UConn ladies beat the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame 79-58. Breanna Stewart won the most outstanding player for the 2nd consecutive year of the Final Four. Also, for just the 2nd time in history, both the men's and women's champions are from the same school. UConn also achieved this feat back in 2004. Coach Gino Auriemma is now 9-0 in championship games. He patched legendary coach Pat Summitt to sit atop the women's coaching hierarchy. Next season, he will attempt to match the great John Wooden, who was 10-0, and UConn will go for a three-peat. We have another story for you in NCAA basketball. We're going to have the Hornies top 10 when we come back.
on a two-shot. Okay. Yeah, Christian. Make sure his script is up to date.
Christian, speak. Christian, speak.
Yeah, testing.
Welcome back. And so we have the NCAA tournament's top 10 for you right now. Number 10, down just 59-58 in the final seconds, V. Sanford of the 11 seed Dayton Flyers drove down the lane to lay it up and put on the winning shot. Whoo, look at that. Giving the underdog Flyers a win over the in-state rival Ohio State.
Now on to number 9. The North Carolina Tar Heels were able to top the Province Fires of the Big East, and forward J.B. Takota did his part using the spin move to bring down the house with a vicious dunk. UNC would take the game 79-77.
Number 8, senior Jordan McRae out of Tennessee does a one-side slam dunk with that big arm. Look at him fly through the air as they went on to take the victory before falling in the Sweet 16 to Michigan.
Now on to number 7. Stephen F. Austin. No, not the wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin. Wrecked a lot of brackets with Desmond Hayman's 4-point play that sent the game to overtime. The points capped an 8-2 SFA run, and the 12-seed Lumberjacks will go on to defeat the 5th-seed VCU in OT.
It's a great highlight right there. Number 6. We can get there at some point. It's a great shot and one at the three-point arc to go to OT. Number 6. It's all about doing the little extraordinary things well. And that's exactly what Texas' Cam Ridley did as the Longhorns' second-round win over Arizona State. Grabbing a loose offensive rebound on the floor, Ridley got the ball off just over the arm of a Sun Devil defender, sending the Longhorns to the round of 32.
Number 5. Now on to number 5. Returning to the theme of 12/5 upsets, the North Dakota State Bison defeated mighty Oklahoma, in part thanks to this Lawrence Alexander triple that sent the game into overtime. Alexander earned a game-high 28 points, and the Bison picked up their first-ever NCAA tournament with an 80-75 thriller over the Sooners.
Now number 4. You know they say it ain't over till it's over? Well, Niels Giffey ended it, and Jerry rolled us. He brought down the house with this fast break dunk. Goes up and slams it. Yes, the white boy can get up.
Now to number 3. A national title was not to be for the Kentucky Wildcats, but he didn't go down without a fight. How about James Young with 3 defenders on him, not only slamming down the dunk, but picking up the and one as well. Not the last one we'll see of Kentucky.
Number 2. The Wildcats might have fallen in the national title game, but they sure made it interesting. Aaron Harrison in the regionals final against Michigan nails it, putting that 8th seed Cats in the Final Four. Speaking of which.
Now to number 1. Number 1, do not adjust your set. Yogi Bear will call deja vu all over again because Harrison for the win once more, nails it, and goodbye Wisconsin. And hello, second championship game appearance in the John Calipari era.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for you this morning. I appreciate you guys joining us. That's my co-anchor, Christian Clark. I'm Dan Cohen. Have a good day.